This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so welcome to Colorado Trout Unlimited's webinar session on one of our most popular youth programs, Trout in the Classroom. You all are here today to learn more about the program and how to get involved. So I'm going to quickly introduce myself. My name is Bianca McGrath Martinez, and I am an AmeriCorps Vista for Colorado Trout Unlimited. So for those of you who do not know what AmeriCorps Vista is, a Vista is a volunteer in service to America that works full-time with a nonprofit group to help build capacity and develop programs. So I have enjoyed the work that I do so much with CTU that I've signed on for another year of service. So my work with CTU has been on their youth programming, and Trout in the Classroom has been a big part of my focus. So we have about an hour here today, so I'm going to jump into it. So what we will cover today during this webinar is a quick overview of what Trout in the Classroom is, the program model and objectives, program costs and funding, equipment needs, fish releasing and disease testing, a general timeline of events and program resources. We will have chat open for participants to ask questions, but I'll also allot some time at the end for that. So like I said, I muted everyone's microphones to avoid any unnecessary background noises, but I'll unmute you guys at the end for questioning. So I'm also recording this, and we'll send out a recording to everyone who signed up, in addition to a PDF version so that you can access all the links that are in the presentation. So before we jump into it, I wanted to talk a little bit about Colorado Trout Unlimited and what we do. So we are a grassroots arm of the national organization Trout Unlimited. So Colorado TU is independently governed by a 44-member volunteer board, including the presidents of our 24 local chapters across Colorado. So we leverage the power of about 12,000 members throughout the state, and they contribute approximately 44,000 volunteer hours annually to restoration, education, and other local conservation projects. So our vision is to ensure that robust populations of native and wild cold water fish once again thrive within their original Colorado range so that our children can enjoy healthy fisheries in their home waters. Colorado Trout Unlimited works to conserve, protect, and restore Colorado's cold water fisheries and their watersheds. So I also wanted to quickly go over Colorado Trout Unlimited's youth programming as a whole. So our Headwaters Youth Program is designed to educate Colorado's next generation of conservation-oriented anglers. So using a stream of engagement delivery model, CTU and its local chapters provide Colorado youth with a diverse set of experiences commensurate with age and ability that span watershed science, stewardship, and fly fishing. Our aim is to foster young adults who are vigilant river stewards, competent anglers, and the future leaders in Trout Unlimited. So in doing so, we also expect to inspire the next generation of engineers, scientists, and technicians that will play a vital role in helping to build stronger communities and resilient watersheds. So encompassing a range of programs and projects known as the Stream of Engagement, Headwaters serves children, teenagers, and young adults. So we have the nationally recognized Trout in the Classroom and adopted trout programs. We have summer fly fishing and conservation camps, teen leadership summits and fly fishing clubs, and scout programs. So we involve youth to help perpetuate TU's mission and to protect and restore our nation's cold water resources. So you can see on this graphic on the slide of our stream of engagement where Trout in the Classroom fits. Another program that we would like educators to think about while doing TIC is our river conservation and fly fishing camp. So when teachers do TIC, we would like them to keep an eye out for students that are super engaged and may benefit from our camp experience. The youth camp is an annual week-long experience in early June designed to educate 14 to 18-year-olds on the importance of cold water conservation and provide hands-on fly fishing instruction. So approximately 20 students are selected each year, and the camp classes include things such as ecology, hydrogeology, aquatic vertebrate and invertebrate sampling, hydrology, trout behavior, trout stream entomology, and a lot more. The camp focuses about 50-50 on watershed science education and fly fishing instruction. So we also have scholarship opportunities available through our chapters. And I'd be happy to provide more information on the programs we offer offline. You can always contact me via email or check out our website. I will provide my contact information towards the end. But for now, let's focus on trout in the classroom. So what exactly is TAC? So TAC is a conservation-oriented environmental education program for elementary, middle, and high school students. Through the school year, students will raise rainbow trout from egg to fry. They'll monitor tank water quality, engage in stream habitat study, learn to appreciate water resources, begin to foster a conservation ethic, and grow to understand ecosystems and watersheds. So during the year, each teacher can tailor the program to fit their classroom and curricular needs. So using the Colorado TAC Program Manual, which has numerous example lessons, teachers can design a program plan that will work for them. Therefore, each TAC program is really unique in that way, and TAC has applications in most subject areas, including science, social studies, mathematics, language arts, fine arts, and physical education. So these pictures on the slide are from one of our most seasoned teachers' TAC program. He's been doing trout in the classroom for about 8 years now, and the subject that he teaches vary depending on the year. So some years he will be teaching art and some science, but he tries to incorporate the tank and the trout into all of those classes. So you can see they've done dissection, they've done, fish art, fishing or fly tying, so things like that. And I wanted to show you all an example of a lesson plan from the TAC manual to give you an idea of what you could do in your classroom. So I will pop over to that. So you can see that it's a rainbow trout journal. So it takes the students through all the main aspects of the program. It defines all the parts of the trout. It helps students understand the setup of the aquarium and how that creates a livable habitat for the fish. It guides the students in their observations and measuring water quality, and shows the students how their aquarium fish habitat would look like in a natural ecosystem. So this is one example, a really neat example of what you could do in your classroom with your tank. But like I said, you can really make it what you would like it to be. So moving on. The program will typically culminate at the end of the school year with the students releasing their trout into a state-approved stream near the school or within a nearby watershed. So the TAC program is primarily planned, led, and implemented by the teacher and educator and their learning institution. So local Trout Unlimited chapters and Colorado Trout Unlimited are available for financial and technical support, supplementary lessons, and release field trips. For those of you not familiar with the structure of Trout Unlimited, so like I said, we have a national organization. We have councils representing each state and chapters representing certain regions of that state. You can see on this map all of our chapters throughout Colorado. So I work as the state council's youth programs coordinator, but most of our 24 chapters throughout the state have someone who works on youth programming at a local level. So we connect teachers and schools with their local chapter to assist the program throughout the school year. That assistance will look different for each school and chapter, but some examples could be the chapter leading a fly fishing field trip or a fly tying activity. Chapter members could provide lessons on fish biology or provide volunteers for release field trips or other related field trips. So we have certain program objectives for Trout in the Classroom that we expect teachers to fulfill to the best of their abilities, which are to introduce a conservation education program based on the life cycle of a member of the trout species. So that's rainbow trout in our case. To foster increased student public knowledge of water quality issues and cold water conservation, and to include aquatic biology and ecology, watershed management and stewardship, disease awareness, aquarium maintenance, water quality, fish growth and behavior, and health and regulatory concerns, or some combination of those things. So as for equipment, Trout Unlimited has a national partnership with That Pet Place, who provide the majority of the equipment needed in the form of a discounted kit. So these kits will consist of things like your chiller, filter, water quality testing kits, water conditioners, and a lot more. There are a few additional pieces of equipment that would need to be purchased locally or online, such as the tank, foam boards for insulation, 5-gallon buckets, so things like that. Some of the items in the kit provided by That Pet Place will need to be replaced yearly, such as your filter media. That Pet Place has a staff member that assists teachers and volunteers with anything related to trout in the classroom, and her name is Stephanie Welsh, and she's great to work with. If you go to the link provided on this slide, you will see her contact information as well as information about the kits. There's a full list of equipment in the Colorado TAC Program manual, which also indicates which items would need to be replaced. And I'll provide a link to the manual and give you guys a quick look at it at the end of this. And actually, I'll show you the website just so you can familiarize yourself with what that would look like. So this is where you would order your equipment kits, and you can see Stephanie's information is right here. And then the kits are listed out. You can also, if you go here, you can look at the pieces of equipment like listed out and which kit has which piece of equipment and what needs to be replaced yearly. So it's a pretty helpful website. So in addition to the tank setup, you will need your fish eggs and trout food, which will be provided through Colorado Trout Unlimited. So we currently source our eggs from the National Fish Hatchery in Ennis, Montana, and our fish food is donated to us by Colorado Parks and Wildlife. So each classroom will get around 250 eggs for each 55-gallon tank setup. So when you order your eggs, I'll send you a pound of 4 different size fish pellets for the different developmental stages of the trout. So the initial startup cost for a TAC tank setup ranges from $1,400 to $1,600, and you will annually spend around $350 on the replacement materials and a new batch of eggs. The reason that we give a range in pricing is because schools or chapters may already have some of the necessary equipment that they can donate or utilize, and sometimes the shipment cost for eggs will vary depending on your location. So realistically, first year is going to look more towards that 1,400 number than the 1,600 number. On this slide, you will see a quick breakdown of those initial and yearly costs. So when ordering your Trout in the Classroom equipment kit from That Pet Place, we recommend kit number 1 or kit number 3. The majority of our teachers go with number 1. The difference is that there's 2 types of filters that you could get. One sits on the floor next to your tank and the other drops into the tank. So that really depends on your setup in your classroom, but they do vary in price, so it is significant. So in addition to your kit, you would be purchasing all of your additional equipment, which is listed out in the program manual. So when we get inquiries from educators wanting to bring Trout in the Classroom to their school, we typically start with the school itself to see if they have money to fund the program. If a school is not able to provide funding for this program, we then ask your local chapter if they would be willing to sponsor your program and provide funding for the tank setup. If chapters have the funds to do so, they are usually very much willing to do it, as it is an opportunity for them to engage with the youth in their specific communities. If neither of those options are available, we can always look for grant funding or plan a fundraising event, which your local chapter and myself are here to help with. So before releasing into a stream or river, classrooms are required to go through the process of disease testing. According to state regulations, if a classroom is going to be releasing their fish into bodies of water that have connectivity to any state waters, they will have to euthanize and extract tissue samples from a minimum of 35 and a maximum of 55 trout. The sample size is based on the total number of fish in the tank. So this process is key to preventing the spread of diseases that could be detrimental to fish populations and water resources. We recommend using this process as a chance to inform your students about fish biology, disease prevention, and why we do it at a programmatic and state level for species management. If a classroom has less than 35 fish left in their tank at the end of the year, they do have the option to skip disease testing and do a release into a private pond or lake with no connectivity to any other state waters. So the fish testing used to be the biggest barrier to the program because of cost, but the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service Fish Health Center in Bozeman, Montana now donates that service to us. The way that the testing works is that the Fish Health Center will send a sampling kit to the schools, and someone who has been trained by Colorado Parks and Wildlife will come and do the sampling, which we will then send back to the Fish Health Center for testing. In the past year, we have trained 7 of our teachers and volunteers to be able to do the fish sampling, and we are offering another training this year, and we hope to keep that going on a yearly basis. It is extremely beneficial for teachers or chapter volunteers to be trained to do this so that they can incorporate the sampling process into their curriculum and be able to do it on their own time. So after getting your fish tested, your test results are good for 2 years. So testing will only need to be done every other year when releasing into waters with connectivity to state waters. So the picture on the top of this slide is our teachers last year being trained by the senior fish pathologist for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, Vicki Milano. And then on the bottom is a picture of me doing the sampling while the high schoolers watch and, question the process. So we work very closely with CPW and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service on all of our releases, and local CPW biologists will typically be present at your release. So there's a full list of roles and responsibilities for all parties involved in the TAC program manual, but I'm going to quickly run through the teacher and student responsibilities because I think that's the most relevant here right now. So the roles and responsibilities of the teacher are as follows. You are to designate one person as the primary contact for the program. There typically are more than one teacher involved with the program to make management of the tank easier, and also multiple teachers will utilize the tank in their classrooms even if they're not hosting the tank. Teachers will develop, plan, and implement a comprehensive TAC program plan or curriculum using the Colorado TAC manual. They will ensure required testing is coordinated with CPW and CTU with sufficient lead time, and TU members and myself will help coordinate this as well. And they will ensure compliance with all applicable CPW regulations and instructions for fish testing. So educators will also provide CTU with copies of developed lesson plans, project photos, assessments, and program summaries upon completion of the program year. We use this information to share with other teachers, but also with sponsors and potential funders. Educators will obtain and put together TAC equipment and supplies listed in the manual. There are extensive instructions in the program manual, and your local chapter TAC volunteer may be available to assist you with this. Educators will also maintain and clean the tank, chiller, and its accessories with the help of their students. They'll maintain on-site copies of all necessary permits provided by CTU. So these permits include our aquaculture permit, giving you permission to have the eggs, and an import license since we currently import our eggs from Montana. So as for the students' roles and responsibilities, the students are to carry out as many of the trout raising responsibilities as possible. So this could include water quality testing, maintenance of water quality, trout feeding and care, tank maintenance, disease testing and releasing, and year-end equipment cleanup. Because we have a variety of age groups that do TAC, this will look different for every classroom. As an example, teachers will assign tank jobs to certain students and switch it up weekly, giving all the students a role and responsibility with the tank at some point in the year. I'm not sure if it is because the students get to see the trout starting at the egg stage, but they tend to become very invested in the fish. So I always tell teachers to utilize this as much as possible since this program really is for them. So a typical TAC timeline will begin in August, but I would recommend an earlier start to be able to lock down funding and equipment and time. I accept inquiries for the program year-round. Between the months of August and October is when you will sign our program memorandum of understanding and agreements, get your equipment and set it up, cycle your tank to ensure your water quality is sufficient for the eggs, and have your eggs delivered to you. So it would be ideal for eggs to be in tank by September to give them enough time to grow for the end of year release. During these months, you will work with your local chapter to determine how they will be involved throughout the year. October through February is where you will focus on keeping your trout alive, monitoring water quality, and offering lessons reflecting the TIC objectives. Beginning in March, we will start the testing process and planning, which in total takes about 8 weeks. We will also begin figuring out release field trip plans. May and June is when most schools will have their field trips to release their fish. So now we have a few key resources for being involved with Trout in the Classroom. The biggest one being our program manual. It is a hefty document, but to ensure success, it should be thoroughly looked over. We have a Facebook where our teachers and coordinators can connect with each other to share best practices, share about their programs, and receive advice and information from me. I will soon be transferring this community over to Google Groups because I understand not everyone has a Facebook or wants to be on Facebook, so Google Groups is more accessible. Lastly, we have a national group, that Google group, that programs all over the country use to ask technical questions and do similarly to what we do on our Colorado-specific Facebook group. So I'm going to show you a couple of these and how to access these resources really quickly. So our manual is right here. So this is the manual, and I tried to make it, it is big, like I said, and I tried to make it as navigable as possible. So if you can see everything's kind of sectioned out based on what it is, and you can click this and it'll take you right to the page that you're looking for. There's a lot of good information here, so I highly recommend looking into it, even if you're interested in the program and not doing it quite yet. This is our Facebook community. So you can see I share information. Our teachers share pictures, they have videos on here, they ask questions of each other. It's a great place to connect with each other because I'm definitely not the most seasoned trout parent. And right here is our national network. So we have trout in the classroom all over the country, as well as salmon in the classroom. So these are all the people involved, and there's a lot of great minds on here. Oh, and then lastly, to find all of this, I will take you guys to our website. So if you go to our website, you can access the youth education section through the conservation tab. And you can see all of our programs are kind of listed here, but you would go to the Trout in the Classroom webpage and scroll down, and that's where you'll find the TIC program manual. I recommend not downloading it because I'm adding content all the time, so it's kind of a living document. But yeah, and you can also, obviously, I will send a PDF version of this presentation to you all so you can have access to those links. So how to get started. I would ask that you complete our TIC questionnaire, which we have a link to right here. You can also find it on the TIC webpage that I just showed to you. That helps me get information on your school and your contact information and kind of where you're at with funding, that type of thing. So after I get that, I'll follow up with you. It's important to review the manual, like I've said, and to have a good idea of what the program really entails. And after all of this, I'll work with you to identify where funding will come from and equipment, and we'll get you connected to your local chapter and hopefully start it up for fall 2020 if you're ready to get it going. So, questions for me? Hold on, well, we can do a chat if you would like, but I can also unmute you all if you would like to ask any questions.
Bianca, this is Barbara. I'm the Headwaters Committee chairperson. I think it's worth mentioning also the troutintheclassroom.org website and all of the resources there for planning educational units.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I can provide I can add that link to the slides before I send it out to you all. But the Trout in the Classroom website is really helpful. I can show it to you really quickly. A lot of the information on the website is also in our manual. So there should be well covered, but if you ever need, you can come here and there's tons of information. And I think what Barbara was referencing is, let's see, lesson plan ideas. Is that right, Barbara?
Yeah, that's correct.
Exactly. So you can kind of, it breaks it up by subject area, and there's a whole lot on here. So there's a whole lot of resources all over because this program has been going on for quite some time, and like I said, it's happening all around the country. So there's a lot you can do with it. Any other questions? And and my contact information is going to be on here. So if you have any questions that come to mind later on, or just contact me. You can call me or send me an email, and I'll be happy to help you in any way that I can. So if there aren't any more questions, I am going to let you all go and enjoy your night. Thank you for joining us, and please reach out if you are interested in the program. Have a good one.